Hello everyone on YouTube, everyone on MadExpression.com. Hope everybody had a great week as well as a very relaxing weekend. I know some of you guys, including myself from time to time, work on the weekends. Some of you guys take the chance to spend time with family. Others just want to sit down and relax. I hope you guys have done that. I myself was relaxing and watching painfully watching the Yankees lose to the Astros, being eliminated officially from the playoff game. They lost in 6 games. They have won 2, and it was a struggle to win that second one. As you guys know, they split in Houston, and of course they lost 2 out of 3 against them in their hometown of New York. Once they lost those 2 games, I knew the Yankees was not beating the Astros. I felt that the Astros were just too strong for them. Funny thing is, I'm not as upset as I would have been in the past, because I'm going to be honest with you, the Astros was 4 wins better in the regular season than the Yankees. The Yankees won 103 games. The Astros won 107. So I did not expect this to be an easy ride. The Astros were just a better team, and they proved that by beating the Yankees in 6. So congratulations to the Houston Astros winning yet another pennant. It's amazing though, they have actually won a lot. They have actually did a lot more winning since moving from the National League to the American League than I actually expected. I did not expect to have them to have that much success. But then again, the Astros have always been a team that competed. They was a team that competed in the 70s and 80s, and they are doing it right here. The only thing I had a problem with the Houston Astros was they always had the worst jerseys in the league, or at least they used to. They have actually made some improvements, like they like the new logo. The Astros always seem to be they had the logo of a gas station, of a 1970s gas station. If you ever look at their old logos, and you can find them on YouTube, there's a channel that dedicate themselves to logos that have evolved over the years. You'll find that the Astros logo have always been one of mystery, especially the uniform. The uniform was the ugliest. Out of all the uniforms I have seen, they were the ugliest. They have changed over the years. They evolved and eventually have gotten better uniforms. And, they still got that, retro look with their logo, but it's good. I actually like their logo. I actually like it on their hats. And to me, they has been very successful in the NAL West. More successful than I actually thought. And they had a very tough time in the playoff early on, but they managed to succeed, and now they're in the World Series. They have faced whoever wins in the NL West, or I'm sorry, in the NL division. Even though they call it the National League, I still call it the NL division. The question is, can they win against that team? I think the pitching is going to be much more difficult, and I think they're going to be more of a textbook style, National League style play. But I do believe that the Astros will win. I think it's going to be whoever it is faced, no matter who it is, it's going to be either 6 or 7 games. I do not see them sweeping. I do not see them, basically dominating. I do think it's going to be a very hard time. But anyway, if those in Houston, if you guys are celebrating, you should. You deserve it. My hat's off to you. And the Yankees have nothing to be ashamed of. The fact that the Yankees have made it to the finals twice under Aaron Boone is kind of surprising to me. I did not expect them to have this much success in a short period of time that he did. He replaced George Girardi, and it seemed like right now, for these 2 years, it seemed to be the right thing to do. Now they're going to have to figure out how to get over that hurdle. Because again, it's very clear that winning 100+ games isn't enough, especially when the other team has won 100+ games and simply has a better defense or a better offense than you. Not to say that anything wrong with the Yankees. I think the Yankees have a great squad, but I do believe that that a bullpen needs to be adjusted, as well as some of their defensive plays. Simple as that. As for the Mets, I want to get to them to timing on that real quick before I go move on to some stories that I want to get onto. Listen, I'm not happy that they fired their coach. I'm really not. I thought that surprisingly that if his team was healthier and he had a more pop on the field, I think they would have gone very far. The fact that they won 88 games this year was kind of surprising to me. I think 88, 86, one of those two. I did not expect them to win that many games. I expect them to be no better than 74 or 75 wins. They have actually finished above 500 in a league that had a lot of teams above 500. You had them, you had Washington, you had Atlanta. The only team that didn't had a 500 league was actually Florida. They lost 103 games this year. So, to me, having them win that many games, I think there's nothing to be ashamed of. I think it shows that if they continue to improve, they can be a force to be reckoned with. So I was kind of surprised they didn't give him a third year. Add a few more pops to the bats. I think they would have gone far. I was very impressed with the way the Mets played. They played actually a little bit at one time. They played better than the Yankees did. Not to say the Yankees ever struggled, but the Mets was actually showing us something here. It was giving us hope. I think it's just that they had been in a very dangerous division. That division was not playing games. So there you have it from there. But overall, I do feel that this was a very interesting season. The Yankees had a great year. It just wasn't enough to put them over the hump against the Texas Rangers. Oh, I'm sorry, the Houston Astros. they got so many. Texas got so many teams up there. It's not even funny. So my apologies. What I'm also going to apologize for is the fact that I didn't have a video or my usual podcast up on Wednesday/Thursday. And there's a reason for that, and I'll get to that in a minute why this video is going to be a little longer than usual. I actually recorded a midweek edition of the Entertainment Roundup. I was going to post it on YouTube, then post it on MaticExpression.com, the usual routine. And before I did it, somebody told me to do a test. And the reason why is that I noticed when I was finished recording, there was a notice on my computer saying, please plug in the plug to do the audio, because it showed that it was disconnected. Now, the funny thing is that my recorder did not indicate this. It was still showing that everything was fine. I'm actually having it right here, right in front of me. And it's recording just like it was, so it is. It's normal. I see the line moving back and forth. I know it's recording. Now, to keep the computer from turning off, or sometimes if no movement's happening, and I'm just sitting here recording as I'm doing now, it will fade to black, and it will lock on, and I don't want to do that because it's actually distracting for me. It knocks me completely off. So I sometimes play a video to prevent that from happening, and sometimes it tends to block away the sound recorder that I'm actually looking at right now. So when I was done, and let me remind you, this was a long video, 45 minutes long. I had this thing good. I was talking bullet points. I was doing follow-ups of stories that I have actually covered. I was doing my thing. It was actually a great recording. Wasn't stumbling on words. I was in the zone. Press stopped. And the moment I went to press stop, I saw that sign. And I said, oh my God, please tell me that I got something, I got all my stuff in. Went to check it out, and lo and behold, I actually saw how many I got in. It was 19 minutes of work. 19 minutes versus 46 minutes. So I only had a fraction of what I have recorded, and it really ignored the hell out of me. It ignored me to no end. I was so upset. I didn't even want to do anything else in a couple of days. I needed to know what happened. And it turns out, and I now have to do some serious thinking about the future of how I record, at least in computer-wise, that the USB port is loose. So if I was to move a certain way, and if it knocks the main port, because I have a hub, I only have 2 USB ports on this PC, so I have a hub to give me more extension. If I was to move, it will knock it out of place, and immediately it will pretty much cause a disruption where it's going to be it will stop everything. My keyboard will not work properly, my mouse will not work properly, and yes, my microphone will not work properly because again it got loosened out. Even though it's supposed to be secured on my USB port, it's not secured because somewhere it's loose. That's not good, because that means it can happen again. Especially if I'm this wild up and I'm moving around, it can happen again. In fact, it has happened again. Um, T. Coom, my fellow friend and fellow Matic Expressionist at MaticExpression.com, have brought it to my attention. And I made it my business to make sure that everything works fine. Well, right here, it got a good chunk of the recording, but it didn't get the rest. And so the next few days, I was really livid because 45 minutes of my life was just basically wasted because my computer has been malfunctioning. So that's why you didn't get a actual Wednesday/Thursday edition of Entertainment Roundup, and that is why I'm actually going to start from scratch on the weekend wrap-up of this week. Plus, I couldn't put anything on my computer because for some reason it wasn't working properly. So now I may have to get the computer doctor, a repairman, to look into what's going on, find out if it's actually worth fixing. Because again, fixing a PC is not cheap, and this computer is not old, but it may be due for an upgrade. Keep in mind, I still got my old computer. I still got the small little baby that I have worked with. This works fine, but again, sometimes upgrades are necessary, and I may get one that with a terabyte memory, make it something that actually is more sturdy. Probably more expensive, but it's worth it for my projects that I want to do, because I can't do any of my project without my PC. It just needs to be. It's just not possible. But in any case, that's what has happened. And now I am going to be doing a long faded version of this video, pretty much in bullet points to let you know what's going on. Respond to some of my friends' comments about certain things, and just basically go from there. So if this is a long video, I do apologize, but I do want to get those stuff out of the way because they are still important today. And I want to get those things done and over with because I still believe the importance of what I have to say in terms of these videos. And now, without further ado, let me get right straight to the stories that I want to cover. First things first, I want to do a follow-up. A follow-up on a story that I have worked on for quite some time. These stories gotten attention on numerous occasions, and it has been the talk of the town last week. I am referring to Martin Scorsese and Jennifer Aniston and this whole nonsense about the Marvel comics being nothing but playground movies, movies that has no importance, movies that are diminishing the movie experience. They should not be seen. It should be more film that has more of a social things. You heard it. It is ridiculous and basically petty. I want to be very, very specific. That's what I call it. Petty. Now, why am I bringing this back up? Because when I heard this video, when I did it on Monday, when I actually talked about this about the release of this film, about Martin Scorsese's statement on Monday, I was more than I say, okay, this is opinion, and even though I don't agree with it, I'll respect it, just the way it is. However, and I want to make this very clear, I only go by some of the articles that has been said. When I saw personally what he has said and why he said on video, because there's actually a video feed of him commenting about the thing, saying it's not a thing, but he said there's nothing more than popcorn film, that's not cinema, which is absolutely ridiculous. I think that's absolutely the dumbest thing I've ever heard anybody says. It is cinema. It may not be your taste of cinema, but it's still cinema. But then I also noticed something else. And I also went back to Jennifer Aniston's story because this is one that actually really stirred me up more. And when I heard his story, when I heard The Irishman, which I am looking forward to seeing, as well as the release distribution, I started scratching my head. Because it's not being released as you would think, like Paramount Pictures or Columbia Pictures or Sony or any of the traditional studios. It's actually being a Netflix exclusive. And the first thing I said to myself is, really? This is a Netflix thing? I just it blew my mind. I said, wait a minute, Netflix has this, and then I read some of the articles, and I'm gonna read it to you guys off the bat right here about what was going on with this film. It now makes all sense of why he is bitter, why he is mad, and why people should not take what he says too seriously, because it's more than what we're seeing on the surface. Now, on one hand, I say a Martin Scorsese film is not a video on demand. I'm being very honest with you. That's an actual release, especially how much this film costs. This film is not a cheap film to make. It's a $159 million project. Think about that for 1 minute. A $159 million project that's barely going to be seen in theaters. Only in special releases. There's not going to be any major release for this film. That's a huge problem. And you know, you guys are wondering why it's not being released in theaters. Well, there's a war going on, and guess what? The Irishman, a Martin Scorsese film, is caught in the middle of this war. A war that I have talked about a few years ago. This is nothing new. If you guys have heard my talk about this, about the movie theaters versus the modern day entertainment, which is more and more and more we're seeing now. We're seeing it now blossom and bloom more now than ever before. This is why The Irishman is not being put out in theaters. So maybe just read what the article says, and we're going to talk more about this as we go along. It says here, The Irishman has his world premiere on the 57th Street New York Festival on September 27th of 2019. That's less than a month ago. It was scheduled to receive limited theater release on November 1st, which is coming out later on during this month, 2019, followed by a digital streaming on Netflix on November 27th. Now, did you see the date between the limited theater release and the streaming service? That has become the problem. It's going to be released in a limited quantity of theaters, not everywhere, on November 1st, 2019, followed by digital streaming on Netflix on the 27th, 2019. That's not even 2 months before it or after it's released in theaters. Do you now see where this animosity is coming from, and how the theaters are playing a role in this? If you know the movie theaters, if you know what they are, you know the situation between movie theaters and streaming distributors, they're not too happy how they've been handling their films. It says here, and I quote, "The films will not play in the theaters owned by," and I'm going to quote right here, "AMC, Cinemark, Regal, Cineplex," and those are four big movie complex. They pretty much make up the majority of the entire movie industry. The entire movie industry, almost 89 to 93%, depending on where you are pretty much dominated by these major companies. They have a stranglehold in the theater industry. There is hardly any mom and pop movie theaters. They are pretty much mostly corporate owned, and these are the head leaders. Do you now understand why it is not being released majorly? If these guys ain't releasing it, they ain't gonna come out. They will have to find other means, which Netflix has been doing. I'll get to that in a minute. Because of the 4-week progression to video on demand, or SVOD, streaming videos on demand. They said it remains unacceptable to these change. It was previously reported on February 19th that Netflix will possibly give the film a wide theater release at the request of Scorsese. The head of several theater chains, including AMC, Adam Aarons, who refused to play Roma the previous November, said that they were only open to playing The Irishman. Netflix respected a decade-old theater window that suggests that movies come out in theaters first for a couple of months and then go to home. Article also says here that the Irishman international premiere was at the closing night of Gaga, whatever the hell it is, of the BIF London Film Festival on October 13th, 2019. The festival director said that it was immense catastrophic thrills to close the event with an epic, breathtaking, untold scale of complexity from one of his great cinema. The film will also scheduled to have a screening on the following festival: Mills Valley, Hamptons, Loma, San Diego, and as also on Philadelphia, Chicago, Tokyo, Los Cabrillo. In addition to November to December's release in The Irishman and a very, very popular theater in New York, I believe they're called the Brescano Theater, marking it the first time to ever screen in that theater in a 112-year history. Now, let me just go on and say right now, this is not a video on demand exclusive. This is a AAA movie. It has a cast that is unbelievable. Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci. You also have the veteran like of Anna Paquin. This is a very strong cast, and a whole bunch of people that it will take me forever just to get the names. But this is a strong, strong, strong cast. And a very expensive, strong movie. Again, this movie cost $159 million. It is originally supposed to have a release date in certain areas in the New York Film Festival of September 27, 2019, followed by November 1st release in the United States. Yet it will not be played in major theaters, and that is a crime. That is a true crime. Now, I'm going to continue the story with the Marvel thing because it is important to continue that. But I want to give you guys an idea of what's really even happening here. First of all, the movie theater is playing hardball. The movie theaters are not going with the style of, having your cake and eat it too. They're not going to have a movie that they know not going to make money in their theaters. That's the problem. The theater industry is struggling as it is. It is not a lucrative thing to be a movie theater owner right now. They all know that the Hollywood powers have been pretty much banking in all the money in their expense. They're taking a large chunk of the profit. The theaters are surviving through the concession stands. That's why it's expensive. And for the fact that they make, first of all, the fact they make money isn't the first week, isn't even the second week, it's their third week. They don't make money in the first week in ticket sales. They don't. If you look at how it's structured, and it's structured in a very, pretty much unfair, disdain way, can you really blame the AMC and the rest of the guys not pretty much playing these movies? Because again, as soon as they are in theaters, they're already in home video. Doesn't make any sense. What's the point of bringing it in theaters? And this is not the first time Netflix have done this. Netflix have done this before. And it had very bad consequences for the theaters who was playing it. Beasts of No Nation, Chirac was not just a video on demand. They were exclusively video on demand. They were streaming video on demand, those movies. You know what happened? It was also in theaters. Can you guess which one had the benefit of making more money? It wasn't the theaters, because the theaters was empty. They don't want to deal with that. They need to fill those seats. They need to have a great capacity. If they're not going to have capacity, then they're not going to play at theaters. They pull them out real quick. To them, it's a waste of time. They know, they're not stupid. If a vast majority of people knows that a film is not just in theaters but at home, they're going to stay home and watch it at home. They're not going to go for it. And Netflix should know this already. The fact that they had a window of a limited theater release on November 1st, 2019, followed by a digital streaming on Netflix on the 27th. What is the point of having it in theaters? Well, I'll tell you. The only reason why Netflix is putting it in limited theater release because they are required to by the Academy Awards. They are obligated to do that. They are not going to get nominated for a film if the film is only on video on demand. Like I said before, years ago with the whole situation with the movie, the Academy is Too White movement that was going on, which I thought was kind of ridiculous in many ways because, again, the films that they were talking about wasn't qualified because they didn't meet the standards of what, at the time, what the Academy Award was looking for. And there's still people out there in the Academy Award that still believes that video on demand should not be recognized as in the Academy Awards. And there's a lot of politics for that. I don't agree with it. Honestly, I don't. But I can understand their feelings towards it. Until they change the rules, which I'm hoping they would one day because they need to be updated, they won't recognize it as just being a video on demand. It has to be in theaters. That's the only way Netflix is going to actually get recognized for their work. And Netflix wants to be recognized for their work. They feel that these films, and rightfully so in many ways, are not just a cheap, C film, D film library. They feel these are quality AAA films they have. It just happens to be on video demand. But there is a war going on. Netflix wants to have their cake and eat it too, and the theaters, distributors are not going to go for it. Personally, for a $159 million film, I will release it in theaters and see if we can group that money back. Many people said, and rightfully so, that Martin Scorsese hadn't had a hit film in a while. It's true. His last film didn't do well in box office, but his other films did. Man made other films, after Hugo. So I can understand the frustration of Martin Scorsese a lot more now that I know the situation. And he's been playing it very well. He acknowledges that the theaters are slowly dwindling. And he's hoping that when it plays in that legendary New York theater, that it will bring new light to the situation. But here's my problem. He still marks and still knocks Marvel. Marvel has nothing to do with what was going on with here. And I do believe his anger is vented on the wrong people. Because again, if he's mad that The Irishman is not being released in theaters, he has every right to be mad. This is a $159 million film. But his anger should be turned towards the situation and the politics between Netflix and the movie theaters. And if I'm Martin Scorsese, I'm going to say, hey, look, Netflix, no disrespect. Put my theaters out for a few months before you put it on your streaming service. Why are you ruining my thing? I understand you paid, and they paid a lot. I will say that. They did push in a large portion of the film. According to the producers, it says by August of this year, the costs have reportedly rise as much as $175 million by the post-production and wrap sum in August of 19. It's reported that the film officially cost $159 million, but I'm thinking they did not account the advertisements and other exclusive fees that happened. It says here by February 2017, Paramount Pictures have dropped domestic distribution rights to The Irishman following the announcement that Frederick D. Canada would not be financing the film due to the crumbling budget. Netflix had bought the film for $105 million and agreed to finance the film a $125 million budget, raised release date for October 2019. In March 2018, it was reported that the film budget had ballooned to $125 million to $140 million due to a large part of visual effects needed to mark Roger De Niro and Pesci's appear younger at various points throughout the film. And by August of that year, the costs had repeatedly risen. So, again, Netflix have spent $105 million to cover the cost. It ended up ballooning to $175 million. The film's actual reported cost is $159 million. If I'm Netflix, wouldn't it be more of a safe bet to promote it and release it in theaters to recoup that money? Why are you going to cut a good large chunk of your audience in half? Especially from what I've been hearing, a lot of people are looking forward to seeing this film. A lot of people are looking forward to seeing another Martin Scorsese film like this. Why are you cutting your audience in half? Release it in theaters worldwide. Swallow your pride and just wait a few months and then release it on Netflix. Hell, you can release it with footage that's not seen in theaters. Use that as the platform. Promote that like that. Oh, we have some scenes that extra footage you can only see on Netflix, including exclusive interviews and boom, boom, boom. Why is this such a struggle war between the theaters? Look, do I think the theaters are hanging on to an old tradition? Yes, I do. They are trying to fight the unfightable. The entertainment as we know it is changing. I said it before and I say it again, that they're living on the last days of going to theaters. Especially how much it costs these days to go to movie theaters. They're living on their last legs. Sooner or later, they're going to have to adopt or they will be extinct. Because I don't see studios going to them for long. In case you haven't noticed, there's a lot of streaming going on. Disney Plus, BET Plus, CBS Access, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. You think if they're making a quality film and if they know they can make money in their platform, you think they're going to go to the theaters to release it? Especially when they know they can make their money back and then some and keep 100% of the profits? The answer is no. They had that discussion with Disney Plus. And why you don't see Obi-Wan in theaters. It benefits serving Disney Plus and Disney more than it serves them being put in theaters. They're not far-fetched wrong with it. They'll still release movies in theaters, but I guarantee they're going to put original content on their platform and try and drive people to watch their platform. It's still a testy waters, granted. But this is where we're heading now. And theaters need to wake up. I agree with it. At the same time, I can completely understand the theater's point of view. I'm not oblivious to what's going on. I understand why my popcorn costs $7 to $8 for a small bag. And a soda is almost equally expensive. And candy equally expensive. That's the only way they're making money. But they still need the movie theaters to draw them in. If you're cutting them off by the foot, then they have no. Then they're not gonna take your movie. That's the problem. Yet Martin Scorsese should have told Netflix, look, make sure this is released in movie theaters first. Make sure we have a large distribution. Now he didn't, and why he didn't, I don't know. I don't know. I cannot answer that question. Only Martin Scorsese can answer that question. But if he hadn't said nothing about his movies not being distributed on a nationwide level, fine. But don't go on the freaking panel and bitch and complain about a movie, about a company which has nothing to do with what was going on between Netflix and the movie distributors, because you feel your film should have more play than the film that's making billions of dollars. That's what this is all about, folks. That's what we had. That's why the last few days it was irritating me when I was hearing these stories. It was irritating me even more when I heard this coming out the director's mouth. And it bothers me of how Jennifer Aniston made a fool of herself. And I kept her out of there for a reason, because frankly it's more about, this story is more about him than Jennifer. What Jennifer Aniston said in her comments, which is utterly ridiculous. It made no damn sense. And I think if she would have read what she had said, I think she would agree that that was the dumbest thing I ever heard. But if you really look at it, that's what this is all about. His movie is being treated as a straight-to-video film when it should be treated as a world-class AAA film. I can't say he's wrong. Hey, you cost a film cost this much money, it better be released in theaters and hope to get that money back. I don't know if they can with Netflix. This is a whole different ball game here. But Netflix did fork in a lot of money. They feel comfortable, you know, about their position. So hopefully they can make their money for the streaming. I seriously doubt it, but that's just my opinion. Netflix lately has been trying to fight off competition these days. You know, half the studios who used to have their movies there are now pulling out and putting their movies in their streaming service. So obviously this is a knee-jerk reaction as well. It could be. I don't know. I do know of what Martin Scorsese have said in that panel. How he felt that these films should be more diverse and how these films should not be released. And that's another thing. How dare you say that films like that should not be released? I don't know if you notice that not everybody wants to have a serious topic being shoved at their face every time. Some people do want that escapism from reality. They want that fantasy of seeing superheroes fly in the air and doing crazy stuff that no one else can do. They want to be entertained. They want to laugh. They want to have fun. They just want escapism. Doesn't matter what kind of film it is. They want escapism. The Marvel films are part of escapism. Doesn't necessarily mean everybody's gonna like it. And no, I'm not saying you have to like it. If you don't like the film, fine, you don't like the film. But to say they're not engaging or not educational, don't have any meaningful thing to say, yet you didn't watch the film, is kind of hypocritical. Let's be realistic. Again, I respect what his feeling is. It's not his thing. Hey, I know a lot of people say that horror's not their thing. I know a lot of people say that drama's not their thing. Some people only like comedy. They only want to be laughed at. Some people only like animation. That's cool. But to bash another movie for just being what they was designed to do is ridiculous. Especially when you have no reason to. I would prefer him to say, look, it's not my thing. You know, it's just not my taste. I wish these guys luck. They're doing a great job. Obviously, people love it. No, there's a bitterness. He's mad that these films are getting high tension. He's mad that these films are rolling in the dough while his film is being put to the side to the point of being a streaming video on demand. He's mad about that. Why is this film getting the praise and respect while my film is articulate and it has, you know, whatever, it has more substance, it has educational value. This film should be up in the pedestal, not this. Why is these movie theaters rejecting my film? I don't understand. Maybe if you would take a look at the war between the streaming services and the theaters, you have a better understanding. Now, honestly, I'm going to be very specifically, be very honestly, have Paramount have full control, which I understand they may have some rights through international deals. But if Paramount had a full control, or any other studio had full control, I think it would have been in theaters. I don't think it would have made it in Netflix. But Netflix bought the filming rights. Netflix are the one that forked in a good chunk of the money, and Netflix is making the call of how this film is being released. And right now, that I think it's a bad call. I think the only reason why they're even releasing it to begin with is because they know that a Martin Scorsese film, 90% of the time, is going to be critically praised. And I'm not saying that because this is Martin Scorsese's name. I think these films are legitimately great films. Keep in mind, I'm not here to bash the guy. I think he's a great director. I love his films. I think Goodfellas was his greatest film he ever made. I thought Casino was a great film. Wolf of Wall Street. Gangs of New York. I'm not sitting here and knocking the man's directorial style and vision. It is a masterpiece. He's a great director. He's one of the top 10 great directors. Which is why it bothers me when I heard that Irishman is not having a major release. That's ridiculous. But then again, Netflix got it, so I'm not surprised. But I feel if Martin Scorsese wants to addressed that, he should address it with Netflix. Hey, Netflix, what the hell are you doing? Why are you not putting my theater? Why are you not putting my movies in theaters? What are you doing? This could be one of my greatest films of all time. You're not only not putting my movie into the theater so a mass audience can see it, but now you're basically have put me in a situation where it may cost me a shot at the Academy Awards. What are you doing? Hey, Netflix, I hope you realize not everybody has your services. In fact, for what I understand, people has been dropping out of your services. So what are you doing? What are you doing to me? Please release my damn movies in the way it's supposed to be released. This is what's going on, guys. And that bitterness, and I say it's bitterness, same thing with Jennifer Aniston, is the reason why Marvel is being hit, why it's being targeted. Sometimes you gotta look between the lines of what they've been saying. They said there's something more to it. Every time when I heard that story, I said, there gotta be something more to it. Now I know. But I felt Marvel saying if he wants his film released, and he has every right to be mad, look, go out there and tell Netflix, hey, release my movie in theaters. Push it back 1 month, release my movie in theater so everybody can have a chance to see it. Don't put these in limited releases and then put it on there. What's the point? But he didn't do that. He's promoting the film in these, in these film festivals and these limited quantity theaters. He's doing that, and Netflix is helping fork in the bill and putting these theaters in these areas. That's fine. If you're not gonna do it, that's fine. But don't sit there and go on a panel and basically bash a genre. Next level had nothing to do with what's going on with your movie. Alright? And no, I do not agree that only certain films should have the right to be in theaters. And by the way, for what he was saying that it should be an equal whatever in terms of how to distribute films, and Marvel shouldn't be the one hogging up the time schedule. Well, comic book movies only make up a small percentage of film release. It's not even in double digits. If you want to just go by the Marvel universe, they really don't make up that much percentage. It may look like it because they're making lots of money and have a great success rate, but believe me when I say it, it ain't like they have a 50% hold on movies. They don't. It's in the single digits. It's not even close to 5%. They don't release that many movies that year, and I got news for you. Not many all theaters play their movies. And I guarantee you this, and that's another thing I think, if Marvel were to pull what Netflix is pulling, where they're only showing it for 1 month and then they're gonna place it on their streaming service, AMC and the rest of the big shot movie owners will do the exact same thing to them. Saying, and I quote, excuse me, I'm not playing your movie. I refuse to play it. I'm not going to have you play a movie for 1 month and we can't make any money out of it, and like you pull it out. That's ridiculous. Go home. It's a jealousy, it's an anger, it's a bitterness, but it's also a sense of entitlement for many ways. Because again, it's that attitude that, hey, my movie is better than your movie. I have more substance in that movie. I have more to say. This is what I consider best picture. This is what I consider a masterpiece. Your movie is nothing more than a popcorn fluff carnival film. They're not carnival movies. They're cinema. Like I said in my previous podcast, it is to the eye of the beholder. Art is a universal language. It is not a one-dimensional language. Art is what it is, the eye of the beholder. What I consider art, you may consider as trash. Whatever you consider trash, others will see it as art. Same thing with movies. Certain films I cannot stand. Other people, hey, that's a beautiful masterpiece. I can't wait to see what you can do next. And who are me to knock that? Who is anyone to knock that? Again, I get mad when I see producers and stuff do this, and it really resonates on the award show that's supposed to be a celebration of films that deserve to be celebrated, not be pushed aside by elitists who feels their film is better than that, or this is the film that everybody should see. And this is why the Academy Award is constantly struggling to find that balance, which I don't think they ever will, but they're trying. I must give them that. I must give them that. But lately, it shows us face sometimes. The popular film category that they was trying to do, you remember that? Best popular film. That was the big thing. That was not done by coincidence. That was done because, again, a bunch of leaders did not feel that a film like Black Panther or any other Marvel film should be amongst the best picture category. It should be only lead to certain quality of films. That's why the Academy Award tried to do that. And that's why it failed, because people saw it. That doesn't mean they're going to continue finding a way to put that category in there. Yeah, I think they're going to do it. I think they are actually going to try and do it. But it only serves as a fact that the Academy Awards is pretty much run by a bunch of people who feel that only a certain amount of films should be on that category, should be deserving of becoming Best Picture. And I got news for those who actually feel this way. I'm going to say this right off the bat. If you feel that the Best Picture category should only be for certain films, then change that category. Because to me, you can't say Best Picture if you're going to discriminate against certain films that many people deem, not just me, Best Picture. That's a broad statement. At least with the Golden Globes, and they do have their share of problems, at least they have a category called Best Picture for Drama and Best Picture Musical Comedy, or etc. And I actually think that's a smart move. We already know, okay, this is Best Picture for Drama. There's no question about that. Then you have Best Picture for Musical Comedy. No questions. It's there. It's right there in black and white. It is specific. If you just have a broad statement of saying Best Picture, then I expect it be for Best Picture, period. Doesn't matter what type of picture it is. Whether it's drama, action, comedy, whatever it is, if it was a comic book movie or a movie about a dog hugging a cat. If that was the Best Picture of that year, it should deserve to be in the Best Picture category. End of story. I wish they stopped trying to make Best Picture as a particular category. It doesn't work. And then you sit there and wondering why nobody's watching your show. Well, because number one, what you consider as Best Picture for them isn't what they already consider. Because half these films you put in there, no one ever seen. They're not advertised, and they only been released during the time when an award season comes in, and they're selected theaters. You want to be fair. You want us to watch. You want us to actually have a care for these awards. You need to start putting movies, and you need to start recognizing that there are other films out there, not just drama, that are great films. Now, to be fair, they've been doing that. Cannot sit there and say they have not. But they need to stop listening to some of these leaders who does not care, who really their only real opinion is to get their movie out and try and bash other films. Like I said, politics is something else. The only reason why we got an animation division, the best animated film, is because, again, people were bitter as hell, bitching and moaning that Beauty and the Beast, one of the year's best films, in my personal opinion here, was one of the best, if not the best, Disney film they ever released. It was a great film, one of the top 5 great films that came out that year, and I still consider one of the greatest Disney films ever. It deserved to be nominated for Best Picture. You believe there was a bunch of people who was mad that film was nominated? Why am I being compared to a cartoon? Because that cartoon was the best picture of that year. Period. It says what it says on that list. Best picture. Guess what? Beauty and the Beast was a picture. It was an animated picture. It was the best picture. People were bitching about that. So what they did, they made best animation picture. And we almost went through almost a decade and a half before another animated picture made that list. And what that film was? Toy Story 3. And deservedly so. It was one of the best animation films and one of the best pictures that came out that year. But you have a bunch of people out there who cannot stand when another film that goes outside what they consider to be articulate films get that spot. I'm pretty sure if you ask some of these guys, they were not happy to see Mad Max Fury Road. And there were a lot of people who were scared that Fury Road was going to win Best Picture. I was actually kind of interested because I've seen and I hear the name every time. I said, interesting. Now, it didn't win Best Picture, but it got a lot of people shaking. Louis C.K. made a joke about it when he was presenting at one of the awards. But there were a lot of scared elitists who felt, oh my God, a film about a renegade driver who's driving in the desert is going to win Best Picture over my beautiful, articulate, state-of-the-art masterpiece. I'm going to lose to this film. Do you understand where I'm coming from with this? There is an elitist way of these people, how they look at films. There is a jealousy, how they look at films. And there is a sense of fear of how some of these films with the CGI and everything else is replacing their role. And I'm looking at Jennifer Aniston. Again, I got no beef with Jennifer Aniston, but I got to call it like it is. It's hard to say that she's not as relevant as she used to be. And she has not adapted to what was going on with the way the film is. She is stuck in a comfort zone. And that's fine, you know, if she feels that's what she wants to do, romantic comedies, that's fine. But you gotta believe that she ain't feeling hot when these films are seeing more than her movies. Or having more better critical place than her. Because again, I still can't make up why she would be upset about a comic book film and why she thought it was a bad thing that streaming off the service where you don't have to worry about missing anything. I still can't get that part. I probably will never get that part. And people call her out on it. And there was a lot of people. I mean, I did talk about it. They called her out on it. But this is the problem. And this is something that Hollywood needs to get over. Alright? Some of these elitist class, some of these things they think they're too big to be on television or too big to be in a comic movie, need to get over. At the end of the day, it's a business. I get that. But instead of getting mad, ask them what made these films appealing. Ask why they're appealing to people. And say, hey, you know, I didn't think that much about it. And if you're upset that your film is not getting the release pull than the film of a X-Men or a Captain America, you know what you should do? Instead of getting mad at the Marvel companies, the companies of Disney, why don't you ask their studios that they're supposed to be distributed films, why they're not being distributed properly? Why are they not being put in major theaters? Your answer could be surprising, would be right in your face. But I digress. That's my opinion. What's your opinion? I spoke about this longer than I thought I would, but then again, I had a lot to say about that. I have a lot to say about that. And I got a lot more stuff to talk about. Like I said, it's going to be a long video. Sit back, hold tight. Pause the video if you need to. Go get whatever refreshment you have. Stop for a while. Put it aside and then come right back because I am not going to stop. I got a lot of stuff to cover that I want to cover. And let's get the Hong Kong thing over with and Blizzard Activision, because I really want to say this because it is a big thing. I am not a gamer as much as these guys are, and you know, a lot of people covering this. I heard Congress have made a tongue lashing of Blizzard. And I don't even know why, because they're just as guilty as they are when it comes to dealing with certain people in certain countries. I'll get to that in a minute. But apparently, from what I understand, that Blizzard had banned a couple players, I believe they're from Hong Kong, for voicing their opinion about the change in government that's happening. For one understand, I did not realize that Hong Kong was run as an independent. Obviously, that's coming to an end, and China is going to uh, display their might as they did with, I think, Taiwan. I think it's Taiwan. Um, no, I could be wrong, but I think it's Taiwan. But in any case, it led to huge protests, which has been hitting my feed the last couple of weeks. It has gotten even violent and deadly. I hope those in Taiwan, China is okay. I hope everything is good over there. I hope everything is all right, and I hope things work itself out where we don't have that. We'll have to hear more violence and more death between the citizens and those who are trying to enforce the law. I hope that is. I hope that it works out, because again, you don't want to hear citizens getting killed. It's not a good sight. It doesn't look good for either for the country. So I hope everything works itself out. By the way, let me make a correction. It's Hong Kong, not Taiwan. I do apologize. I just uh, recently just type it up just to correct myself. So I do want to apologize ahead of time. Hong Kong, the protest has been going on right there. But like I said, the story remains the same. They're saying that Blizzard are hypocrites. They're saying that they're banning people and also taking their prize money. That has triggered boycotts after its ban. There's a whole lot of stuff going on here, and it all has to do with the fact is that they're supposed to be an American company that's aiding and abetting the will of China. China has very strict censor laws. China also are very strict of people talking down to their country. This is something because they're a communist country, and they do control the media there. There's a whole lot of stuff that's happening right there, and a lot of people are not happy about it. A lot of people feel that Blizzard should not be the police of, especially when they also said they value freedom of speech and freedom of expression, yet banning some people from that country. There's a whole lot of stuff going on with video makers. I suggest you look at the videos that has been made over this topic. I think that these videos by Yang Ying, Review Tech USA, the Quarreling, I think they do a great job of doing a good covering of the incident. I am concerned more of the political aspect of it, because it is a very serious situation. It can change the landscape of the world, and especially those who could be affected, especially U.S. So this is very, very concerning. Excuse me. So there's a lot of stuff going on between that. Here's my thing about this. I'm gonna call it as a business perspective. I know a lot of people ain't gonna be happy what I gotta hear from it, because I do have criticism for Blizzard, but I also have criticism for those who are actually, bashing them for doing this, particularly our government, the United States of America, and I tell you why. Blizzard first. I think Blizzard, you need to be mindful what you say on your feed, what statements you make, because I think your statements were stupid. All right, your claim that you value and you respect freedom of expression and freedom of speech, I hear that, but I also understand something else. That only based on the country that you're doing business with. Now, in the United States, you can probably respect freedom of expression, freedom of speech. I guarantee that doesn't work the same way for other countries. I think it varies from country to country. I think it's very, 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 very clear on that. Because why would you ban those two from tournament play? Why would you take their award film? Why would you ban them for a year? That doesn't make any sense. This is what I mean. When you make that statement out, people are going to assume that you mean what you say, and they're expecting you to back it up. The fact you didn't do that, and the fact that you actually have censored these guys, says otherwise. And from what I understand, recently you did it again. It's very obvious why you're doing it. You're doing it to keep the Chinese government happy. You feel that, well, that's a different country and they have different laws, they have different rules, and therefore you're going to abide by the laws and the rules of that country. That's basically what that's all about. Because they're not going to do that with Americans. That's a whole different story up in Hong Kong. And again, it's more about pleasing that government. Why? Because they want to do business. Keep that in mind when I say this. They want to do business. This is a business decision, not a moral decision, a business decision. And we have to understand that aspect of what's going on here. The word business is at play here. They go into an international country. They know the rules of that country. If they don't show the views of that country's interests, then the chances of them doing business in that country is almost non-existent. So to them, they're going to act according to what that country's rules and guidelines are, and pretty much that's what they've been doing. Did it have a bad backlash? Absolutely. Did they deserve the backlash? Yes. But you can't put something on your feed, say that you're for freedom and for this and for that, and then you do this. People are going to see it. This again, our world is not closed up as you think. I think these countries forget that we're now globally connected to one another. We may not know each other. I mean, I know these guys from a hole in the wall, but we're globally connected. This is what makes social media so unique and special. We don't have to be face to face to talk to each other. We have a computer. We can Skype each other. We can communicate with each other through our comic sessions on YouTube. We can collaborate, for different video platforms, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Dailymotion. We can find a way to communicate and spread our word and spread our voices to each other. It is not isolated to one country. I think that's the thing that these companies must understand. That yes, people are going to see this. It ain't just from Hong Kong. It's going to be from the United States, Canada, Russia, Bangkok, whatever country that has that social media platform. Strict or not strict, people are going to see it, and people are going to look at you, and they're going to say, what the hell do you think you're doing? What are you doing? You're aiding and abetting the Chinese government, the government who's been suppressing their people for how many decades now? What are you doing? You're making a deal with the devil? What are you doing? Do you understand where I'm coming from, guys? Yes, this is bad. And everybody's going to call them out. And everybody should. And no matter what excuses you have that are trying to make, or what kind of thing to fix it, it's still visibly evidence that you are aiding with Hong Kong. Now, at the same time, is it illegal? No. That's the crazy part about it. Why? Because again, different countries, different rules. They're not looking at it for a moral perspective. They're not looking at it, what is Hong Kong doing right or wrong? They're not looking at that. They're not looking at this human rights record. They're not looking at whether or not they treat their citizens well, whether or not they have allowed citizens to actually, play video games at a certain rate, because again, they have restrictions on how people play these games. I don't know if it's workable. I don't know if you can actually enforce that law. What are you going to do? Go to everybody's house and say, you can't play this game, you play too many hours? I don't know. I don't know how their system works. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I do. I'm a United States citizen. I'm a New Yorker who lives in Paterson, New Jersey. We got our own rules and regulations that we have to deal with. Just like any other country. But our rules are not the same as theirs. What I can tell you is that Blizzard wants to do business with this country. They see a gold mine. They see riches there. That's how much riches? I do not know. But obviously enough to do business with. And yes, when it comes to business, they will turn a blind eye, just like they always do, to the situation that is right in front of them. And they will try and do everything they can to keep their clients happy. So yeah, they are doing exactly what Hong Kong wants them to do. If you think they're just doing it by themselves, they're not. And who to say they're wrong? Because again, different country, different rules, and they're going to go by what the rules and regulations are to that country. They're not doing this to American citizens. If they are, then yeah, these people have every right to be upset and mad and everything else. But for what I understand, it's definitely from that country region or those who are speaking against that country. And yeah, they're going to do everything they can to appease that country by basically silencing them. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. But unless there's like a rule regulation how a company should act universally and what they can and cannot do universally, they're in their right to do so, and I can't do anything about it. I guess why they didn't really go up in uproar. They're not doing anything different than most other corporate companies have done. And believe me, there's some that done even worse. If you think for 1 minute these countries leave to go to other countries because of expenses, you're dead wrong. Think about it for 1 minute. It costs them $15.50 to $20 an hour to do something where they can go to other country and charge 38 cents or less. That's why they lure overseas. Now, I'm not saying police going overseas to China and trying to shop there, but they're all trying to do business with them. Almost every company have done this. Blizzard is not anything special. The WWE has been criticized too. The Crown Jewel, whatever that pay-per-view they have over there, people booing them because they don't want them to do business with a country who suppress their own people, who have rules against women competing in athletic sports, who recently has been pinpointed as the country that killed a reporter because he spoke ill against the prince over there, or the king. Saudi Arabia is not a fully not communist country, but it's not a fully democratic company either. Sorry, I'm jumbling in my words, but you get what I'm talking about. Their democracy is almost non-existent there. But Vince has no problem doing it. Why? Because Vince is getting a whole lot of cash. Whole lot of money. More money than he probably can count. You think he's going to turn that down for the sake of morals? This is business. And he's looking at it as a business transition. I'll give you so much money. You give us performance. You wrestle here a few months, a couple months a year. And that's it. Twice a month, twice a year. For how much money they give him? They give him this guy a lot of money. It ain't like $10 million. You got to go way up. I mean, lots of money. More than I actually think they should. This is a business decision. Now, interesting enough, WWE has that problem having wrestlers go over there. They don't like going over there, and there's a reason why they don't like going over there. But there are others who will take the money that Vince is going to give them and just go up there and perform. To them, it's just business. Nothing to do with the fact that they're about the moral issues going on there. They're not looking at it like that. They're saying this is business. You know, they was asked to perform there. They paid us money to perform there, and now we're gonna perform there. That's it. That's it. As far as the U.S. concerned, the good U.S. of A., who's blasting Blizzard, who's up there, basically, trying to put them on the hot burner. I've got one thing to say. Don't you guys do business with China too? Or Saudi Arabia? Or a lot of countries we claim to be terrorist threats. Countries that we have denounced as being communist countries. And that we can't do business with them, especially how they treat their citizens. Yet we do business with the country who definition matches what they've been preaching to us as against. This is why when you ask me my question about Hong Kong, that's the reason why. I'm sorry, about what's going on in Hong Kong and what's going on with Cuba. The reason why I'm bringing Cuba up because we have embargoes and we have all these restrictions because they're a communist country that don't treat their citizens right. Now, the reason why we're embargoing them because there's really nothing what we want from them. Unless there's a big demand for Cuban cigars, we don't care. We can embargo them all they want. China, we need something from them. They got something we need. They got something we want. So we're gonna, cater to them, kiss up to them, bed with them, smile alongside them, shake their hands, and forget that they actually have a very spotty human rights record. We're going to forget about all the stuff they have done over the past 3 decades, even longer when they became a communist country. We're just going to shove that to the side because we need something. Same thing with some of these Middle Eastern countries. The ones we always say are a bunch of terrorist attacks and everything else, and all these, guys, human rights, everything else. No, we're gonna ignore that because again, we need something from them. We need oil and their resources and their money. We'll play the world concern. We cannot tolerate communists on one end of the spectrum, but again, when it comes down to business, we'll do business, but in a more quieter way. If you think that the United States, if you think I could take anyone from Congress serious about them blasting Blizzard over the business dealings we have done over the years in the 80s and 90s and today, then we're truly arrogant. We're truly blind to the hypocrisy that our country has done. I love this country, but I'm not going to sit here and stick up for them when they themselves have turned a blind eye to some of the treachery that some of these countries have done to their own people. Forget about us, their own people. That's why when people get mad at Blizzard about they're violating freedom rights, I mean, if you're honest with you, again, I'm not happy about it, but it's business to them. And if I'm going to go after Blizzard for what they're doing, then I should be talking about my country, about making deals with other countries, including China, when they have a spotty record or have no constitution whatsoever in terms of freedom for their people. We're not trying to change the world. We don't want to change the world. We'll talk all that nice, talk about democracy this, democracy that. In reality, we just want to make money. And if that country, whether they have a democratized country or not, if they got somebody we want, we will do business with them and we will turn a blind eye to everything else that they have done. That's how America really works. Sorry to tell you this, guys. So, no, I'm not, celebrating about them blasting Blizzard. Please. Before you blast Blizzard, look at your own record. Look at who you're dealing with right now before you even think about going at Blizzard. Just like what you guys do is business. It's for the interest of this country. While Blizzard's doing the same thing for their bottom line. Do I agree with it? No. I don't. But that's how it is right now. Unless any of you gamers, including those of positive, can tell me how they can do things differently, please let me know. But for now, they're doing no different than what any business done. They're following the rules of that country. And they're going to continue doing that because, again, they want that money. Now, again, let's be realistic. There has had some backlash in this country. A lot of protests is happening. They had to cancel events. So they're feeling it. They know they're feeling it. And I don't think any kind of statement to do damage control is going to fix the fact that they are still doing what they're doing. If I'm the owner of the company, I'll just say straight up forward, hey, look, we're going by what that country's rules and guidelines are. This has nothing to do with the United States. This is more to do with Hong Kong and their laws that state such and such. We have to follow. We are at business with China's other other companies where we have to abide by China's laws. We have a division there. You know, we have doing business with them there, and we have to abide by the law. It may not be the laws that you may not like, but that's the way it is. And just leave it at that. Instead of trying to act like you're something that you're really not. That's how I see it. It makes more sense to do that than to actually try and make yourself something and then make it even more worse because they see right through it. Again, you got to remember, and I think these companies must remember, that isolation is no longer in existence in today's modern technology. Everyone is connected most of the time, whether it's through their mobile device, through their computers, and everyone sees what goes on. The days of having closed countries is over. And you can't just hide around the fact that what you're doing and try to pretend that what you're doing is not what you're doing. If you're censoring people because of what's going on in another country that you're doing business with, you might as well say you're censoring people because, number one, of what's going on in that country, and keep it at that. Instead of trying to spin it as something that everybody can see is BS. That's where I'm more upset about with Blizzard. Just call it like it is. I'm doing business with China. We are going by the rules that China has given us, and that's it. Throw it out there. Why try to make yourself look more like we're not the bad guys here? Just throw it out there. Oh, we don't want politics in our service. Well, you know what? There's other people going to see right there through there because other people talk about politics that's not in Hong Kong. Why only Hong Kong people getting hit? Bring it out there. We're doing business with China. We have to abide by some of China's guidelines. If we don't do that, we can lose them. The contract that we have with China is terminated. Period. Why is that so hard? Again, I can't knock them. The United States have business with China too. If you think they don't, you'll be mistaken. All that nonsense what Trump's doing with the turf war. Yeah, there's a reason why it's a big deal, because we have stuff that it's cutting off us in terms of the supplies we need. It's not helping anything, it's making it even worse. Now, you may have your own feelings of the turf war, that's fine. Don't think there's special interest people who are not happy about it. If not about the country and abroad, there are companies up there who are really, really concerned about it. Like I said, in business, it speaks more louder than anything else. Unfortunately. And it's business. To them, they made a business decision. And their policies are going to be based on the business that they're doing with that country. And I wish that the Congress and those in politics were pumping their head and facing their fists. How dare they do this? You need to look at yourself in the mirror, please. Don't come over here and try and pretend that you're outlandishly upset when the fact is we too, the United States of America, does business with that country as well as other countries whose human rights are way worse than what our country led to believe. But what's your opinion? I'd like to hear what you have to say. I'd like to hear what you guys comment on. Let me know. And gamers, if you guys want to tune in on what I said, I'd be more than happy to hear what you have to say. I know you guys are not happy about it. I know gamers are very passionate. I know Blizzard has had a few, can I say a few rough patches the last 2 years with how they've been handling things. I'm just saying. I'm going to take this very quick. Yes, my friend that loves wrestling, I did see the NWA premiere. I haven't touched on the actual second episode yet. I'll probably see it tonight. I like it. I like the NWA Power. I thought that's actually kind of fun. I grew up with that for a brief time, watching studio wrestling. I did lose favor of it because, again, I was more used to the WWE's big crowd. Doesn't mean I was not against what WCW, that's the NWA division at the time, was doing. I actually liked the fact that they was talking trash and they got some wrestling match. You actually got more wrestling and more of that promo that actually links to the storyline with them than you would have with today's modern wrestling now. I actually think it still works. And seeing it being done in this format again, pretty much upgraded to a degree, it's actually kind of cool. I actually like the fact that they're doing that. No entrance music, just wrestlers going in, doing their thing. It seemed like, from what I've seen, they're bringing back the jobbers, having more squash matches. And I actually kind of like that because I think that actually limits, it keeps the storyline fresh. I think one of the main weakness of WWE, surprisingly, that they don't have enough jobbers, and that it kind of hinders the talent a little bit. Because again, the biggest problem with WWE, in my opinion, that I'm seeing now, and I just came back seeing it, is you're seeing the same matches over and over again without any variety. I think one of the reasons why NXT works so well is because they managed to get everybody a shot. Okay, you wrestle this week, and then you guys come in and wrestle. And they rotate pretty well. I think WWE needs to do that more often. But I think the one thing about it is their promos. That NWA promos is actually pretty damn good. I really do like the promos. I really think they're genuine. You can tell they're not scripted. And I kind of wish Vince McMahon would go back to that a little bit, because the scripts, it's not working, man. I mean, I'm being honest with you. Some of the stuff they hear, they're talking, I can't believe them. I just don't. Here, it feels genuine. You don't have to swear. You don't have to curse. These it's scripted. It's right. It's not. It's unscripted. Yet they come out and get their point across. You believe what they're saying. It's actually more fun that way when they're natural and is speaking from a more speaking that they are to a character they have themselves created. Because keep in mind, the wrestlers are embodying a certain character that we are supposed to be invested in. Kind of hard to be invested in when they're talking stuff that no human being will talk like. I think they need to go back to that a little bit, because again, these scripted things is just not working. I mean, you can't. You gotta let the performers who are going out there, who are risking their health, do what they are supposed to be trained to do. That is, let them cut their promos. Just keep them bullet points. Say, hey, look, cut a promo for 8 minutes. Don't go to over the 8-minute mark, and that's it. They need to go back to that. They need to have better structured stories, because I still don't know who's wrestling and why they're wrestling that person. I just don't. I mean, it's the Seth Rollins thing, and look, the Fiend and Seth Rollins, that was badly put together. It just was. But at least they're trying to stick with it. They're trying to salvage it, and at least that is a continuing story. I will say that it is a continuing story, and I'm hoping it has a better payoff. Well, I understand they're having a crown jewel. I know a lot of people are not looking into it because of what they did with Hell in a Cell. And yes, I'll say it. The Hell in a Cell was horrible. There's no question about it. There's no way to denying it. But I do felt that from what I've watched, the rest of the pay-per-view was fine. I was very happy that the women's division has gotten their due. I think they saved the pay-per-view being a total disaster. I think the Hell in a Cell match with Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch was very good. I thought the Bayley match with Charlotte Flair was good. I thought the opening match woman was pretty impressive. I thought the women's match, especially with the tag team, with my favorite wrestler coming back, Asuka, the Kabuki Warriors winning the championship, was actually good. Was actually a good match. Now, some were better now. There's no question about it. There was some weak matches within the women's game, but overall, I gave them a high praise. I gave them matches alone. I gave a B+. I actually had fun watching those women wrestle. Which brings me to my next concern. Could you please promote these women better? They deserve better. They deserve to have the spotlight. Having them being placed in there one or two matches and basically facing the same one without any career and storyline is a crime against these women's talents. Start taking your women's division seriously. It looked like it was going in the right direction with the Evolution. I don't know why they don't want to make a sequel, but give them their own pay-per-view. People will watch. Build these women up. They deserve that. They pretty much saved your Hell in a Cell. I mean, granted, The Roman Reigns and the storyline was okay, with especially with Daniel Bryan. They were good matches. The the tornado match was pretty entertaining. It brought something new and creative. They did their damn goodness to do it. The Randy Orton match, not great, was pretty good. But overall, it wasn't a terrible pay-per-view. It was that last match, a rush match, a match that should never have took place to begin with. Should never put it to begin with. They should never put that as the main event. But they did, and it had very bad consequences. Hopefully, they can learn from this, because again, they need to understand how, and I know they don't take them seriously right now. I can understand why, and to an extent, but AEW is right there in their face. You don't start getting your act together, just like what happened in the 80s and early 90s, when people started tuning out to watch WCW because, one, you choose to do a fake Razor Ramon angle and fake Diesel angle. That ticked off a lot of the wrestlers, who ticked off a lot of the people who was watching you, and forced them to turn to what was going on in WCW and how much of a hitting streak they have. It can happen again. You got a good product with NXT. I don't know why you put them on against competing with them, especially when you consider that as a developmental program, which I don't have a problem with it. Personally, I think it's kind of hard to call yourself a developmental program when you have the likes of wrestlers that came from other wrestlers who are well-known names. Samoa Joe being one of them. Shinsuke Nakamura was one of them. Now they're in SmackDown and Raw, respectively. If you're going to have them go against it, you're going to have to show better than that. AEW, look, the ratings for both is down, but they've been beating NXT and beating them badly, really. And that's largely because, one, they're not looked at the same as AEW. That's not NXT's fault. It's really not. But Vince needs to understand that, hey, if you want competition, slapping that there and it's ignoring the fact that you have a quality problem isn't going to solve your problems. The problem is still there. And do I need to get started with the Eric Bischoff being fired? He was there only for what, a few months, and that's it. And I like JD from New York said, I've seen his podcast. He's 100% right. He was a scapegoat, because how can you say that he runs things, and every time if he were to do something, his authority is going to get turned over because Vince wanted to tear the storyline at the last minute and put a whole new storyline while the show is proceeding. Makes no sense. It brings chaos, and to be honest, it's unprofessional, and he should know that. Again, that pretty much happened with the Hell in a Cell, and we all know how that turned out. He needs to get his producers together. He needs to get his act together. I don't care who is the producer in that situation. If the same old nonsense happening, you can have, do love tell the storylines. It doesn't matter. Vince needs to have his story, his producers, his script writers, his talent developers do their job. Let them work. Otherwise, you're going to get the same stuff, and people are getting a little tired of it. That draft they have done was horrible. I could not have taken that draft seriously. If this was a draft about other wrestlers from other schools that you want to pick and select, then yeah, I'll probably get talking, okay? Because it's not just your own wrestlers that you already have on the contract. You got wrestlers who's coming out from House of Glory, New Jersey Pro Wrestling schools who train these athletes. All right, you say you drafted them, then I got them to talk about, because now we got new talent coming in, new fresh face. But if you're doing the same thing with your wrestlers that you already got on contract, and they're not even leaving the place that they're going to, what the hell was the point of this? To please Fox? I know they're giving you a lot of money, but you know what? I think Fox would be even more better if you just basically, I don't know, give them a quality product that they paid for. Again, you got competition coming out. It may not be from the likes of Major League Wrestling or Impact Wrestling, but it's definitely gonna come from AEW, who has a strong backer behind them. And I would not fall asleep on NWA, not by single. And you need to understand that those are the people you need to look at, because, as in case you haven't heard, NWA's pay-per-view has been sold out after it was announced. AEW has been selling out their buildings and has been selling out their pay-per-views. Coincidence? No. Because they are giving people what they have actually come to love and has been missing over the last few years. Quality wrestling. Now, does AEW is perfect? They got a lot of work to do. I hope they got other wrestlers, because after a while it's going to get a little bored seeing the same wrestlers wrestle again and again and again. They need to start getting them wrestle and start developing them new talent and showcasing them a lot more. But for now, people are in it, people are eating it up, people are loving it and are having fun. People is loving what NWA is doing. They're doing it right. WWE need to take some notes. Instead of trying to challenge these organizations, trying to have a competition, bring them out of business kind of mentality, you should look at the product within. It's not good. It's not good. Their storyline is not good. Their storyline in general is non-existent. It is not good. And they need to actually work on that. Right now, reason why I'm back into wrestling, because I was not watching wrestling for years. I think it was a good 3 to 4 years since I have actually watched an actual wrestling match and wrestling show. AEW got me back wrestling. When I heard the announcement of AEW, saw their logo, I said, okay, let's see what happens. I mean, we've seen wrestling organizations come and go. Global Forces being one of them. Although they may come back, replacing Impact Wrestling, so on and stand. And I don't know if that's actually been the case just yet. There has been talk about that. But they got absorbed for Impact. Ring of Honor may be absorbed for Impact. So Impact may be more, it may be making a comeback through acquisitions and basically growth. One can only hope. They've been on the last votes for so many years. I just said, you know what? Unless they actually announced they're going to go out of business, they're still here. But New Japan Wrestling is a hot thing right now. People loving their stuff more and more. You have AEW, which the moment I saw Chris Jericho come in and make that announcement that he's all in with All Elite, I knew that this is serious. When I found out who was involved and who was putting money into it, I knew this was serious. This is not a joke. They're serious. So, all that stuff happening, all that stuff is going on, this is what you call competition. And it's only going to be a matter of time. We got more alternative. Is there being always saturated wrestling nowadays? Yeah, I think it's starting to come to that point. Because there's only so many people will take on TV time. And I think that AEW and NXT technically is hurting themselves in terms of the TV ratings because they're head-to-head. Surprisingly, though, it's hurting NXT a lot more because NXT, who had a loyal fan base on their streaming service, which should have stayed on their streaming service, is now have to do a 2-hour show, which they should never have to do. Kenny Omega is now looking more and more right by the day because, again, of what they have been changing. And trust me, there has been some changes in NXT which didn't have been changes. But this is what happens when you have competition. To me, the only true way you're going to compete against AEW is to improve the two brands that you had. The two brands that actually became a staple of WWE. And that's SmackDown and Raw. They have to change that. Competing with NXT, it's almost like you're not taking AEW seriously. But most importantly, you're not taking your fans seriously. And it's starting to take a note. When you have fans, I'm sorry, if I'm an owner and I hear another company's name being chanted in my arena, I am not happy. I will not be happy at all. Beginning and stubbornness and arrogance sometimes go a long way with Vince. I love him, but sometimes he becomes victim of his own ego. I hope that somebody can sit there and say, I hope Triple H can say, hey, look, father-in-law, I love you. What the hell are you doing? You're hurting us here. Let these writers do their job. Let Paul Heyman do what he has to do. Let's make sure you tell him, keep it PG, keep it clean, but let him tell the stories. You don't have to have an Attitude Era to have great storylines. That whole myth, the Attitude Era was great, but it wasn't perfect. There was a lot of missteps with the Attitude Era, just as much as it was. People want to say it was great. It was a lot of mishaps. Don't get it twisted. The Attitude Era was not always blossom and rose. But you can have good quality wrestling. You can have wrestling that actually people can get invested in. If your people are not being invested in, what's the point? You got way too many pay-per-views as it is. And half the time, you guys, they don't even make the time to invest on these pay-per-views to the point where we can be invested. Half the time, I don't even know who's wrestling. How's that possible? So I think that, yeah, Vince needs to wake up. Because they will turn them off in favor of whatever is out there. There's a lot of wrestling out there. You just pair Major League. You have, right now, NWA making a comeback. And you have AEW. You can only sign so many people to so many contracts before it finally packs up on you. By all means, understand that it doesn't matter how many pluses you sign. If you're not using them correctly, and they're not, have shown interest towards the audience going to turn them off, and they will go to your competitor. Suppose that. You want to keep the competitor at bay? Put a quality that everybody can love and enjoy. And it's not like you can't do it. You have the talent. They have it. They got more talent than any other wrestling organization out there. Problem is, they're sitting on the sidelines. You got a great woman division. Use it. Tell a story. I'm actually looking to see where the Bayley heel turn is going to lead to. I'm actually looking to see how Sasha Banks is going to be pushed, along with the other women. Use it. That's my opinion. I'd like to hear what your opinion is. Leave it in the comment section. A friend of mine asked me about something that's very interesting, because he knows I'm a Liberties fan. The Liberties being the New York Liberty as a WNBA. And I have kept myself quiet on the wage gap situation. There's been a lot of YouTube videos on it. There has been talk about it in sports media, and that is how the women of the WNBA want to be paid just the same as the men. They feel there's the wage gap issue between the men playing the NBA and the women of the WNBA, and they feel it's a little bit unfair, and they feel they should be treated equally in terms of pay. This is something a friend has brought up. I've seen videos on it, some expressing why that would never happen, others saying that plain and simple that it should happen and it should not, that the quality of the sport should not matter, which I think it does matter, and I'll tell you why. First of all, I'm for equal employment. I want to be very, very clear on that. There should be no reason why I'm working a job that pays, this is for a ballpark figure, $17 an hour, and the person who's doing the same thing as me in that office is not getting paid $17 an hour, but $10 an hour. And it's not because she's doing terrible or anything else. It's simply because she's a woman. I think that's unfair. I think that's sexist. I think that's unfair wage practices. And I don't accept that. I think that's wrong. If the person's doing the same thing I'm doing, then that person should be paid according to the work that they're requiring to them to do. End of discussion. With sports, however, I think that this is something that that is a little bit different for one reason and one reason only. It doesn't really go. It goes more by the demand of the sport and how much the sport is actually taken in. The NBA has been around for years. They had their ups and downs, their hiccups, but they are at the end of the day, right now, as we speak, they're one of the big three sports. Those are the big three that brings a lot of money. They bring in a lot of TV revenue. They bring in a lot of people in terms of attendance, and therefore, that is reflected by the pay that these basketball players are getting. Keep in mind, they're not the same employees as you are, as me and you are. As we go to work, the 9 to 5, we go home, we pay a check. These guys' pay rate is different. They're being paid as contractors. When they sign a contract, it's for this amount of money. All right. There is a salary cap in place. I don't know if it's a hard cap or a soft cap these days, but there is a salary cap in place that limits them to go above that. And why? For one, it keeps the other teams competitive, because if you have 1, 2, 3, 5 market teams, bidding for these people, it leaves the small markets to basically struggle. And this is something that baseball for a long time has been struggling against. They're finally, after all this time, starting to balance it out, because again, they do have that cap. They do have that salary situation where it actually helps the owners can actually compete fairly. The same thing with the NFL. The same thing with a lot of sports teams these days. They want to have that cap because, number one, it keeps the balance of play intact. Because if you don't, at least according to them, is if say like they want to sign a player for 6 years, but here comes this other team, we'll offer you $100 or $200 million to play for us. They may have that money to do so. That team may not. So they're going to lose that team, and they're going to lead them to struggle. And that's why there's a cap for that. But in general, they're still a free agent. They can still go out there and make the money and see how much they're worth and be assessed how much they're worth based on performance. And that's the key word, performance. For the WNBA, yeah, I do want them to get paid to what they deserve to play, but also they're not just being judged by just who they name them, but by their performance. If their stats don't meet up the performance, they're not going to get paid that much. Plus, there's also the fact that I don't know what their salary cap is. It has to be a hard cap, and for a lot of reasons that I'm going to talk to in a minute, because number one, if they don't have a hard cap, they could overprice themselves. See the thing that people don't realize when it comes to this, and even some of the athletes, if they continue to overprice themselves, after a while, the teams won't be able to afford to stay in business, let alone pay the players in general. And for the WNBA, this is something very important. They are staying afloat not because of the popularity of the sport, even though there's a lot of people who support the sport. They're staying afloat because of the NBA. If the NBA had not supported this league would have been folded years ago. That's the truth. All right, the only reason why they are still in existence is because of the NBA. The NBA has been their backer. They've been their sole backer since the inaugural season. They have made it very clear that they will always support them, but they have to be a summer league that cannot compete with the men. And for good reasons. And I think that was a smart move. But they have been struggling. The reason why my favorite team, the New York Liberty, doesn't play the Madison Square Garden anymore because not many people was coming to the Garden. They sold the team, and they've been playing in a very small arena in Westchester County in Long Island, New York. For all these years of tradition in Madison Square Garden, now they play reduced to a smaller stadium. Now they have been playing at the Barclays Center because the person who owns the Barclays Center actually now owns the New York Liberty. So there is hope they can come back to a more sizable venue in a place where New York City is New York City. But for now, they're playing in a small venue. And they're not the only one that's doing it either. There are a lot of teams that are choosing these smaller venues. Why? Because that's the only way they can actually make money. They can't make money, and they're not going to get 20,000 people in their seats. And that's been his problem. And the Liberty has been struggling as a team league. They got 12 teams right now. There used to be more. But some of these teams have relocated. A good portion of this team have folded. Some of the teams were very well success teams. The Comics, Monarchs, the Rockers, Miami. A lot of teams have folded. And they haven't done an expansion in God knows how long now. They have not expanded. They're a little small team right now. So to ask them to get paid more money may not be in the cards right now for the WNBA. I like them to get paid for what they have deserved and what they have been formed, but I gotta keep it real. The league may not be able to afford to do so. At least not now. At least they need to market themselves more better to get a more broader audience. They more important, they need to have expansion. They haven't had an expansion in a while, and they need to expand in cities that they know will support the ladies in that basketball team. They can't just expand anywhere. They need to look at the market that they haven't even tapped on. They did it with Connecticut. Connecticut, I knew they were going to be successful there because, number one, Connecticut basketball, the women are just up in the same equal scale as the men in UConn. In fact, I think they're better than the men at most times. So I knew they were going to get that support. They should expand to Tennessee. I don't know why Tennessee is not in their radar. The history of ladies basketball in Tennessee is phenomenal. They should hit these markets. You don't have to just go to the additional New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia. Go to a market that has never been touched before, especially those who are dying for a sports team right now. They will support the WNBA. They haven't done that. It may be in the cards, but they haven't done it yet. I hope they will. I hope that one day we can hear that, hey, Tennessee got a basketball team. It's the ladies' basketball teams. The ladies' Wolverines, or whatever they want to call it. There is a market out there. They just haven't done a good job tapping into that market. As far as I'm concerned, as long as they are remaining such a small team with very limited eyes on them, the pay rate is not going to go up. Most of these players probably have a better shot of going overseas and making money there than they are with the WNBA. I hope that's. I wish they would stay. I actually think there's a lot of talented women in there. I love my Liberty. I love the league, but I have to be honest. They're not there yet. They haven't fully made that next step yet. The other league, the one that came out almost the same time as they did, Major League Soccer, have done it. They expanded beyond anyone's wildest dreams. They have expanded pretty much now to almost 30 teams. I was surprised at how big and how aggressive their expansion was. And they have been through some hiccups. They had some teams fold, but they stayed the course. They have built their audience. They know people love soccer, and they acknowledge that they're not going to compete with Major League Baseball and hockey and basketball. They don't need to. Just focus on them. Focus on the audience they have. They have smaller arenas. They have smaller sets. And those crowds are supporting their team. Like I said, New York has a couple teams of their own. Cosmos, even though I think right now they're in a different tier, and I hope they get back to a major league soon. Hopefully they can merge with one of the New York teams, particularly New York FC, which, by the way, is their first true New York City team that ever played basketball soccer here. Now, I still think they need their own stadium because I think Yankee Stadium is not suitable for them. But that's neither here or there. Yankees are supported. They are partial owners, so they're going to be all right. But eventually, having their own stadium will be the next step for them. But overall, they're successful. They have moved forward, not backwards. They have learned from mistakes, and they're continuing to move forward. I think WNBA needs to do that. Now, as far as his worries that it's not going to be around the next 10 years, I think it is a legit worry. But I think as long as the NBA, which they said themselves, there is no short-term plan. They are supporting this team. They want these girls to exist. They want to have their league, and that's good. I'm very happy that the NBA is doing that. I applaud them. But eventually, they're going to have to step it up and start, really you know, putting himself out there. Do some aggressive expanding. You know, test the market a little bit again. If they're staying just like a small team, then chances are they may not never go to where they want to be. I think women basketball is important in this country. I still believe in that. But right now, the wage gap is the least of their concern. They have to keep the teams that they got now relevant. They have to keep the teams afloat, and they cannot have any more foes. So far, there hasn't been a foe for a while. There's been teams moving back and forth. I think Vegas has been one of the teams that actually came to play. But they need to start rebuilding. And I think they need to start doing that for expansion and through what works and what don't. And start marketing their actual superstars. Put them in the forefront. Let people know that these are the reason why you want to watch. It's because these ladies here. This lady, she's awesome. She can dunk. She can do this. Show why. Give people the reason to care. That's my opinion on that. I'm going to leave it at that, gentlemen. That's it. And this is the longest video I have ever done. And the only reason why this video is this long is because, again, I wanted to cover two topics that was on my head. And I wasn't going to do a short thing on this. So, again, I do apologize. Normally, like I said, I would have kept it under the 45-30 minute mark. But unfortunately, my video decided to cut off at the last minute. This is good. I know that there's no problem. So this will be up as soon as possible. And like always, I like to hear from you, the feedback. If you stood with me all this time, thank you very much. Thank you so much. But like I said, I want to get all this off my chest. And I want to thank you guys for listening and being supportive of me throughout this whole time. Again, until next time, gentlemen, J77 saying take care, be safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.